Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, well, this one's not for sale, but by special request, it's getting its moment in the sun, or should I say, the light box. This timepiece is the 2019 model year only FP Journe Chronometre Resonance 24-hour dial, the latest in a line of Chronometre Resonance wristwatches built by FP Journe. Starting in the year 2000, this watch will be built leading into the 20th anniversary of the series in 2020. Now on my wrist, it's 40 millimeters in diameter and only 8.9 millimeters thick, 48.2 millimeters from lug to lug. It's an easy watch to wear. I would recommend it for wrists as small as 14 centimeters circumference. The spacing between the lugs is 20 millimeters, and it's a special kind of interplay of strap and case, because in order to make this watch more wearable on a small wrist, FP Journe has drilled the lugs relatively close to the case, necessitating the use of a curved spring bar, so there is no impingement against the case when you pull the strap straight down around a smaller wrist. You'll also appreciate the fact that the strap features a pull-tab spring bar system, so you can easily remove the strap on both sides for close cleaning between the lugs or to change the strap. And surprise, this is a tough strap and an expensive one, alligator leather on both sides, rectangular scale large on the top, small scale round on the bottom. Why? Because alligator leather is much tougher than the calf usually used on the underside of a strap, and thus this has every chance of being a half-decade strap unless you have serious glandular issues. Most FP Journe watches are paired with a pin buckle, which is to say a full deployant clasp in matching red gold is opulent appointment even by the standards of the Journe manufacturer. You can see it's nicely made with high polish relieved and raised letters on a matte blasted base. Nice, substantial, with a ton of heft on the wrist and extra insurance against droppage while donning or removing. Journe's case bands are simple but strong, with the overlap of the case back and the bezel defining the horizontal aspect. The case band itself is somewhat recessed, and you'll see it's slim, it's simple, it's sexy, it's lithe, it's athletic, and it's nicely tapered and tucked as the lugs simply drape themselves away. Again, the better to work well with a small wrist. You have the Journe characteristic dimple style crown, two of them in fact, and you can see that it features outboard knurling, but the watch does not feature two crowns. One is actually a reset trigger, the one at 12 is a crown. Let me explain. The dial is classic Chronometre Resonance with one modification. Rather than having the concentric 24-hour scale of the winking watch, previous generation made from 2009 to 2018, this watch does away with the rotating discs, and it uses a simple 24-hour format hand. They are two separate time zones. You can set them independently, or as I have right here, you can sync them up, and thus this can be a wonderful travel watch, the 24-hour dial allowing you to keep track of day and night so you don't accidentally call far-flung friends, family, or business associates in the middle of the night or early in the morning. Now there are two bezels. As you can see, both of them are black polished with black polished screws framing the individual dials. Those are executed by hand finish, and they rest atop a solid rose gold dial that is printed with characteristic Journe font. The difference between this watch and the press photos of the original proposal for the 24-hour dial, significant, as the original press photos showed black font used. Here, a lush royal blue has been employed for the railroad style tracks, and inboard the numerals themselves. The hands are Journe's blued biomorphic hands, and you can see they obtain for hours, minutes, as well as the power reserve scale. When Journe debuted his first dial side bolts on the 1999 Tourbillon Remontoir, it was heretical. Today, it's considered to be downright heroic and influential, showing the bolts and the fabrication, the construction methods of the watch on the dial side is now considered to be avant-garde, and Journe led the way. The dials are galvanized silver with a cross hatching at their center, and I should emphasize that you set the two dials using the crown at 12 o'clock by withdrawing it. You wind the watch, and you can see the 40-hour power reserve and power reserve indicator. Using the single crown, it winds both of the mainspring barrels. You can see the crown wheel and the click spring at center. You actually use the crown down at 4 o'clock, which again is a trigger, not a crown, to synchronize the 2 seconds hands. Even as you set the watch, the resonance effect requires a few minutes to gain full purchase on the timepiece. As a result, the seconds hands might not be synced. Well, if they're not synced, wait for the resonance effect to take purchase, 5 to 10 minutes, and then pull the trigger down at 4 o'clock, and that syncs up the hands. Turning the watch over, this is caliber 1499. There have been several generations of this watch. This is caliber 1499-3. The 14 is the size of the movement in French lean. 1999 is the year FP Journe started work on the original 1499 caliber. Let's talk about the first version of this watch. 2000 to 2004, that was the brass caliber. 2004 to 2008, that was the rose gold caliber with symmetrical dial, two 12-hour dials. 2009 to 2018, that was the winking watch with the concentric double scales for the 24-hour dial on one side and the asymmetrical conventional 12-hour dial on the opposite. This is the 2019 version. The movement, however, features much of the same imagery and materials you would have seen back in 2004 when the first rose gold movement's attached. All of this is created from a single movement blank, so it feels almost like you're holding a gold dollar in the hand, plus the mass of the gold watch, plus the mass of the gold dial, plus the mass of the gold clasp. You can see the movement featuring twin mainspring barrels and two drivetrains. They are independent. Nothing connects them. There's a little rack and pinion system. You see the gold pinion screw at center, and then the black polished rack that actually moves this half bridge away from and closer to the other side. One axis the exciter, one axis the resonator, and each one will act as both exciter and resonator. The idea, originally pioneered by 18th century clockmaker Untitled Chapter, was that pendulums would synchronize where the parasitic losses from the pendulum escapements would actually synchronize the two pendulums. And you can see when you put metronomes in the same room adjacent to each other, they will synchronize. Well, the same phenomenon occurs as the excitations of energy escaping the balance wheels and the escapements mutually reinforce to the point that when one runs fast, the other will self-regulate it and slow it down. When one runs slow, the other one will speed it up. And within a single 24-hour period, this 6-position adjustment will allow the two balances and the two timekeeping organs to deviate relative to each other by no more than 5 seconds. All of this manually wound. Because it is adjusted in 6 positions, it's important that the balances are free-sprung to better take and hold that precise regulation in the face of bumps, disruptions, or concussion on the wrist. You can see the balances are large. They have an inertia of 10.10 milligrams per centimeter squared. That is a lot of inertia. Those are big balances. Beaten away at 21.6, 18-karat bridges and plates, linear coaches and have perfectly aligned across the bridges, black polished screw heads. You can see that mirrored anglage lighting up on the edge of every bridge. Let me see how close I can get here and keep things in focus. You can also see that the mirrored sinks for the jewels and the screws are also beautifully polished by hand. And then, of course, you have on the base plate a concentric circular overlapping perlage engine turning. It's beautiful stuff to please both the aesthetic sensibility and the intellect. Chronometre Resonance, 24-hour, the 1-year special in rose gold.